William Frawley was her boyfriend. Last few days in secret meeting. We now know why Vivian Vance was born. Vivian Robera Jones was born on July 26, 1909, in Cherry Vale, Kansas. She was a talented American singer and actress who left a lasting mark on the history of entertainment and TV. Vance came from a poor family in the Midwest but became famous through hard work, ability, and a unique brand of comedic brilliance that made her a well-known name across the U.S. and beyond. Vance was best known for her iconic part as Ethel Mertz on the classic sitcom I Love Lucy. Her career spanned several decades and showed how versatile she was as an actress, how deep she was as an artist, and how warm and friendly she was both on and off the screen. Vivian grew up in Independence, Kansas, in a religiously conservative home. He became interested in the performing arts at a young age. Her mother had a strong moral code that made her suspicious of acting, which went against her desire to be in the theater. Even though things were tense at home, Vivian kept working toward her dream. At Independence High School, she studied theater. After that, she went to the University of Kansas and the University of New Mexico. There, she got even better at what she did by focusing on acting and studying in theater. Soon, her drive drove her to make the risky move to New York City, where she tried to make a name for herself on Broadway. For her acting name, she combined her first name with that of a friend who was a theater director. This was the start of her rise to fame. In New York, Vivian's job didn't take off right away, but she worked hard and it paid off. In the 1930s and 1940s, she started working steadily in theater and was in a lot of Broadway shows. People liked her work in shows like The Voice of the Turtle and The Cradle Will Rock, which helped her become known as a skilled and charming stage actor. But it was her part in the show Hooray for What? In 1937 that first brought her a lot of attention because of how well she could combine comedy and singing. Her stage work showed how versatile she was and led to the part that would become her most famous and loved. A lot of important people in the theater world quickly noticed how talented she was. Not long after that, she was in shows like Anything Goes and Let's Face It. She was a great performer because she could mix comedy and deep emotion. She became a recognized stage actress with a growing list of credits. After being cast as Ethel Mertz in I Love Lucy with Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz in 1951, Vivian's life and work were never the same again. When Vance was cast as Lucy's best friend and ally, it worked out great. She had a great rapport with Ball, and the two of them were one of the most famous comedy teams in TV history. Lucy and Ethel went well together. She is smart, and often irritated, but she is always loving and loyal. The way Vance played Ethel gave the character depth and heart, turning her from a simple sidekick into a fully realized person. The best parts of the show were also her exchanges with William Frawley, who played her TV husband, Fred Mertz. Interestingly, Vance and Frawley were known to not get along off-screen, but their work together on-screen became legendary. In 1954, for her role on I Love Lucy, Vivian Vance became the first woman to win the Emmy Award for Best Supporting Actress. This award was a big deal for her and for supporting players in general, and it showed how much she contributed to the success of the show. Her part showed that a supporting character could get as much love, admiration, and attention as the star, and it paved the way for women to play comedic roles in the future. Vivian Vance was still very connected to the brand even after I Love Lucy ended in 1957. She played Ethel again in a number of spin-offs and follow-up shows, such as The Lucy Show and The Lucy Desi Comedy Hour. She also made many guest turns on TV in her later years and kept working in theater. In the 1970s, though, her health started to get worse, and she started to stay out of the public eye. After being diagnosed with breast cancer, she stayed strong and kept contributing professionally. She even recorded PSAs to raise money for cancer research. Vivian Vance was best known for her famous role as Ethel Mertz on the classic TV sitcom I Love Lucy. Her personal life was complicated and sometimes rough, especially when it came to her marriages. Her life was full of marriage. She was married 4 times. Her first 3 marriages all ended in divorce, which shows how hard it was for her to find lasting happiness while having a busy and well-known job. In 1928, she married Joseph Shearer Danick Jr., who was her first husband. Danick was a businessman, and Vance's first attempt to balance her personal and career goals was to get married. She was young and wanted to make it big in show business at the time. This early marriage was hard to keep up while she looked for work in theater and movies. The couple was together for only 3 years before they got divorced in 1931. The public doesn't know much about their marriage or why it ended, but most people think that Vance's growing ambitions and regular travel made the relationship worse. After 3 years, in 1934, Vance got married for the second time, this time to George Coe. Like her first marriage, this one didn't last long. Before getting a divorce in 1940, the pair was together for about 6 years. At this point in time, Vance was still building her image as a skilled and charming stage actress. She was starting to make a name for herself in the entertainment business by starring in a number of Broadway shows. Because of the demands of her job, her relationship with Coe probably got even worse, and the two finally broke up. Philip Ober, an actor and director, was Vance's third husband. Their marriage lasted the longest and may have been the most complicated. They got married in 1941 and were married for 18 years before getting a divorce in 1959. During this time, Vance became famous all over the country when she played Ethel Mertz on I Love Lucy with Lucille Ball. The marriage lasted for almost 20 years, but there were some big problems along the way. For years, there were rumors that Ober hurt Vance mentally and physically. Friends and co-workers said Ober seemed angry and envious of her huge success, especially as it began to overshadow his own. Reports of abuse were never officially proven. But Vance's biographers and people who were close to her have said that the relationship was toxic, with a lot of power and anger. Many people think that Ober's insecurities as an actor who was having trouble making it were a big reason why he was mean to Vance, whose rising fame made their jobs even more different. Even though they were married for a long time, Vance was said to have suffered a lot emotionally. In 1959, they finally got a divorce, ending a relationship that had become unhealthy and sad. After getting divorced from Ober for 2 years, Vance found what many saw as a more safe and loving relationship. She married John Dodds, a well-known writing agent, editor, and publisher, on January 16, 1961. Their relationship changed Vance's personal life because it gave her a sense of support and friendship that she hadn't had in her previous marriages. Not being in the show business like her previous husbands had made Dodds and her new husband may have made things better between them. At first, the couple lived in Stamford, Connecticut, where they liked the peace and quiet of life away from the bright lights of Hollywood. Vance had spent most of her life in the public eye and loved the relative quiet that the East Coast offered. Their home became a safe place for her. It was decided by Vance and Dodds to move to California in 1974. This brought her closer to old friends and co-workers from her acting days. They stayed in California until the end of Vance's life. Over the years, Dodds stayed by her side, and people who knew them said their marriage was warm, loving, and respectful of each other. Vance's previous relationships were often tense because of work rivalries or emotional turmoil. But her marriage to Dodds seemed to be based on mutual respect and emotional stability. Before she died in 1979, Vivian Vance and John Dodds were deeply in love with each other. His being there for her in her later years gave her comfort and strength, especially when she was sick, like when she had breast cancer. Vance is often credited with making her life peaceful and happy again after years of trouble. Their long-lasting marriage is a contrast to the problems she had earlier in life, and it is known as one of the best parts of her later years. The friendship between Vivian Vance and William Frawley as the sassy Ethel and the kooky Fred Mertz on I Love Lucy was a big part of television history for many years. Fans loved how they worked together when they fought, but rumors have been going around for a long time that the two stars were actually very hostile toward each other. People outside of the show said they barely put up with each other, trading sharp jabs behind closed doors and giving off an air of lingering stress. However, new information has recently come to light that suggests a much deeper and more emotional story. This story paints their last years in a surprising and even touching way. Close friends and recently found personal letters say that Vivian Vance and William Frawley got back in touch in secret in Frawley's last years. What started out as a few tense phone calls and meetings changed into a surprising friendship that not many people knew about at the time. There wasn't much romance in these quiet rendezvous, which were often kept out of the public eye and the press. Instead, they were highly emotional, nostalgic, and even healing. According to sources, the two people who used to fight learned to appreciate each other late in life. They did this by thinking about their shared success as TV stars as well as the pain they had been through in public and in private. Vivian has always been known for being smart, funny, and friendly, and it was said that those secret talks gave her a sense of closure. She learned that Frawley's rough exterior was a defense mechanism shaped by a difficult childhood, a job in decline in the early days of TV, and his own personal demons, such as alcoholism and loneliness. By the middle of the 1960s, Frawley's health was getting worse, so these quiet meetings were like a balm to his already weak body. He was in his late 70s and had not been acting for a long time. Friends say he was sorry a lot of the time. He should feel bad about how he treated Vivian on I Love Lucy, and about the chances he missed to get to know her better. Vivian was the one who, against all odds, started the process of them getting back together. She reached out because she was feeling more and more like she was going to die soon and wanted to make peace. To everyone's surprise, even her own, Frawley said yes. They would get together for coffee, long walks in quiet areas, or private dinners at restaurants that weren't very well known. It was during these private talks that they finally let go of old grudges. They laughed about the silly things that come with fame, cried over lost loved ones, and even talked lovingly about Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, two huge stars who had changed their whole lives. The fact that Vivian Vance never talked about these talks in public makes this news even more shocking. Because of how difficult their past was and out of respect for Frawley's pride, she kept their new relationship a secret. Years later, through interviews with close friends and family and old records, this late-life reconciliation started to come out as a truly human and touching side story in the history of classic TV. We now know why they met behind closed doors, not to cause trouble or make a show, but to make things right. Vivian Vance and William Frawley showed that relationships can get better with time, understanding, and a readiness to forgive. Their private talks weren't just a way to remember a better time, they were also proof that peace is possible at the end of life. At the age of 70, Vivian Vance died on August 17, 1979, after a long and brave fight with breast cancer that had spread. She had a great career as a comedian on stage and TV, and her death was very sad for everyone who knew her and worked with her. Vance was best known for her iconic part as Ethel Mertz on I Love Lucy. She was loved by millions of viewers and was close with her co-workers. After she died, Desi Arnaz, who had been on I Love Lucy as both a co-star and a producer, wrote a heartfelt statement about his sadness. In his words, "It's bad enough to lose one of the great artists we had the honor and the pleasure to work with, but it's even harder to reconcile the loss of one of your best friends." These words showed not only how highly Vance was regarded professionally, but also how much she was loved and respected by her co-workers on a personal level. After Vance died, her family wanted to remember her memory by giving the Albuquerque Little Theater in New Mexico, where she started her acting career, a piece of her legacy. They gave her Emmy Award, which she won in 1954 for Best Supporting Actress, to the theater that helped her grow as an actor. This action marked a turning point in her life and work, acknowledging the roots of her artistic passion while also giving hope to upcoming performers. In an honest interview in 1986, Lucille Ball talked about how her feelings about Vance's work had changed over time. This was a touching tribute to Vance's skills. While watching old episodes of I Love Lucy, Ball said that Vance's acting had captured her attention. "These days, I spend most of my time looking at Viv. She said Viv was really great." At the end, Ball said that she hadn't fully appreciated Vance's comedic brilliance during the original shooting and production process because she had to be in the projection room reviewing takes for her own duties. But now that they had time to think about it and were farther away, Ball could appreciate every small move and expression in Vance's performance. She was something, Ball said, summing up the love and respect that made their friendship so complicated and long-lasting. The Star, which is located at 7030 Hollywood Boulevard, honors her important contributions to the golden age of television. Her part as Ethel Mertz helped change the definition of the female sidekick. Her work gave a character depth, warmth, and fun that made people of all ages connect with them. Vance's memory is also kept alive at the Lucille Bellisi Arnaz Center in Jamestown, New York. This center honors the lives and careers of the famous I Love Lucy stars. There, people can look at displays honoring Vance's artistic skills and her important part in one of the longest-running comedies on TV. In 2010, an interesting part of Vance's life came to light when the San Francisco Chronicle reported that a local antique trader had acquired a collection of Vance's personal items. These things came from her late longtime friend and writing agent John Dodds, who died in 1986. They included photos, scrapbooks, and a manuscript of her unpublished autobiography. The find gave a rare and personal look into the private life of a woman whose public image was so well-liked. Vicki Vance and William Frawley, who both worked with her on I Love Lucy for a long time, were both admitted into the Television Academy Hall of Fame in March 2012. This award recognized how much of an effect both actors had on the TV industry, especially through their unforgettable roles as Ethel and Fred Mertz. Even though there were rumors of tension between Vance and Frawley off-screen during the show's original run, their on-screen chemistry became a big part of why the show is still so famous and influential today. I Love Lucy made a play out of the story of how Vance got the part of Ethel Mertz. There was a funny event on the way to the sitcom, which was a play written by Greg Oppenheimer, who is the son of I Love Lucy creator and director Jess Oppenheimer. The play, which opened in Los Angeles on July 12, 2018, gives a behind-the-scenes look at how the sitcom was made and the acting choices that helped shape its legacy. The performance was recorded in front of a live crowd and then made available on public radio and the internet. This helped keep the story of Vance's casting alive and share it with new fans. Life and work of Vivian Vance have also been made into movies and TV shows. Robin Pearson Rose, an actor, played Vance in the 1991 made-for-TV movie Lucy and Desi, Before the Laughter. She tried to capture the smarts, charm, and wit that made Vance a star in American comedy. A few decades later, Tony Award-winning actress Nenana Oranda played Vance in the highly acclaimed 2021 movie Being the Ricardos. The movie, which looked at the complicated relationships that happened behind the scenes of I Love Lucy, introduced Vance to a new group of viewers and showed how important she was as one of the smartest and most innovative women in the history of early TV. Through her talent, humor, and groundbreaking work in television, Vivian Vance has become and stayed a popular and important figure in American entertainment. People who know her and people who act continue to admire, study, and love her.